DeLuna Coffee has been fueling Florida and beyond since 2014, and now wake up Warchant. DeLuna Coffee is owned and operated by the Lemmix family, Ed, Courtney, and their son Brett. When not roasting the perfect coffee blends, these FSU diehards can be found tailgating near the Unconquered statue. Go and set your sights on their Lighthouse blend. Made of 5 different coffee origins, a combination of light and medium roasted beans creates this wonderful cup of premium coffee. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up? It is Wake Up Warchant. It is fueled by DeLuna Coffee. DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Use the promo code WARCHANT15. That will save you 15% on your order at DeLunaCoffee.com. They're fantastic human beings. They are loyal, dedicated, diehard Nole fans, boosters, alums. So get your day started off right by ordering some DeLuna, drinking it as well. You can do that, everybody. We do enjoy it. I drink it as well. The Beach and Blend, I use it for my my cold brew, which is slowly creeping back. I can't make up my mind. It's cold one day, it's hot one day, but the Beach and Blend creates a superior French roasted coffee taste with its combination of Colombian and Brazilian beans. It's lower in caffeine, so it can be enjoyed, for dinner almost afterwards, So if you want to get wild, that's how I get down. Corey Clark is here. He works for Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminoles sports source. Promo code Warchant30. 5-star rating and review, please. Thumbs up, please. Corey, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're getting enough coffee, some DeLuna up in you.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. It is February.
It is. We made it. It's signing day.
It is. We
It's
made it.
National Signing Day, everyone. I hope you're excited. I assume all y'all got up at like 5:30 in the morning and just are hitting refresh to see who the Noles are picking up today.
Yeah. Don't do that. You'll just be wasting your time, it sounds like. Although we will have a recruiting show going down at 6:30 p.m. live with Michael Langston, if there were to be anybody that were to sign. But we're really not anticipating it, I don't think. But we'll still talk about the weekend that was, the visitors, and maybe we'll get Michael's thoughts on the schedule. But we will do a recruiting chat. We'll take your questions. Michael will provide the answers at 6:30 live on our YouTube channel. So, yeah, happy National Signing Day. Hopefully it'll come back to this day where it just belongs, just makes more sense. Don't even get why we moved it. Don't even understand it. Lots to talk about, Corey. Some of it funny, some of it serious, most of it serious. Let's get to the funny part. I was on a radio program, and the first question they asked me was, what were my thoughts on the social media video produced by Florida State Athletics before they dropped their schedule, which I think is like head football coach Mike Norvell's in a recording studio with some of the players. And I don't know if it's quite Seminole rap too, because I could only make it through about 20 seconds of it before I felt uncomfortable. And I tapped out. So have you seen it? And I basically was like, I just don't, it's not for me. I get it. I'm not its intended audience. I just feel like you've marketed and branded yourself as something if you're the head football coach here. So let's just kind of lean into that. Let's be that guy. Let's be the button-down guy. Let's be the how we do everything or whatever is how we do something. It's been such a kind of disciplined, I don't know, man. Just he's straight-laced, and that's fine. That's totally fine. Nick Saban, he square dances or whatever at people's homes during recruiting. You can do that stuff. I don't know. Again, I'm not the intended audience, but I'm just like, I don't see the need to do something like that. But if the kids had fun, I guess that's all that matters. What were your thoughts, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, it beats Brian Kelly dry humping his recruits. So it cleared that bar.
Yeah, that's a good bar. Good. Yeah.
So you got that going for you. Look, I wasn't upset really one way or the other. I don't don't necessarily think it was a swing and a miss. It was just something for people to talk about for a day. And it's, when you go 5-7, it's I can understand how it might put people off that they're in there kind of, dancing around. But it's 2022, man. Look, I mean, this is what social media teams do. This is what college football programs are doing, I assume. Maybe not to this level, but they're all trying to do something. And they put together a 3-minute video that had some players in the studio. They weren't rapping, I guess.
Okay.
They were not rapping. They were kind of dance. They had the whole premise was a little odd because Mike Norvell comes in. It's funny. The guy, I like the first part is my favorite part where he comes into the studio and Norvell's like, "What's up, baby?" And he puts his arm around the guy.
I saw that part.
And then he goes and sits down and hits the controls, and then the music starts. But it's somebody else. I don't know who's rapping, but it's somebody else doing the rapping. And then the football players have headphones on like it's We Are the World singing, but they're not rapping. It's not their voices. It's not the Seminole rap.
Okay.
It's somebody else singing, and they're kind of just bobbing their heads and dancing a little bit. So it is what it is. It was certainly, it wasn't as cringy as the Seminole rap, and people love the Seminole rap. Of course, that team went 11-1. It was coming off an 11-1 season or 12-1 season, whatever it might have been, 11-1, I guess. So but it's fine one way or the other, right? It's not. I don't think it's a deal breaker. It doesn't really seem to jive with Norvell's image,
Right.
but maybe he's trying to show that, hey, you come to Florida State, we do fun things too. It's not all about getting up at 6:30 in the morning to go to practice. It's not all about climbing and working hard, and this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever do. Sometimes we have fun. Maybe that's the image they're trying to get out there, much like whatever Brian Kelly's trying to do.
If they're TikToks, which I guess there's not a time limit on TikToks, what LSU's doing with Brian Kelly, just cut it, man. After 12 seconds, it's enough. It's uncomfortable regardless. But it goes into like second 18 and then 24. And then it's a half minute of watching Brian Kelly just dance way too close without any sort of idea of what to do next to a 17-year-old kid. And he's like doing the Travolta, Uma Thurman, fingers over your eyes dance. It's just, it could be worse. It could be worse.
At first I thought, honestly, the first time I saw it, I thought he was, that celebration that football players have kind of taken up now where they kind of run their hands across their nose or face and then sling their hand down. It's really gross, and I don't like it.
Okay.
But if you watch football, you'll see that. Maybe basketball, too, when somebody hits a big shot. It's not a celebration I endorse, but I thought that's what Kelly was doing at first. I'm like, oh, no. Don't do that one, Brian. But then I realized, he's just doing a horrible Travolta. Yeah. Not like me. It's so weird. It's so weird in here. He can't do a Travolta like Clark.
Let's go. Oh, we didn't mention this on Monday, but since there are other human resources news to share, we might as well tack this on top. You're all familiar with it. Former Nole Corey Fuller and former Gator Kewan Ratliff were both added to off-field staff positions this past weekend. Fuller, Florida State grad, will be our director of football relations. Ratliff, assistant director of high school relations. So two guys who know the state inside and out quite well. Makes sense. And then on Monday, late evening, news had dropped that Odell Hagens' contract has been renewed. We don't know the terms of the contract yet, but also Ron Dugan's apparently has also received an extension. We don't know if they're both on the same terms. I wouldn't assume so. I think Odell's always made a little bit more than Dugan. So once we get the details, the particulars on those, we'll drop it. But they're standing pat, I guess. Well, I mean, they got a new linebacker coach. They got a new offensive coordinator. So there are changes going there. But I think there are people that were hoping that maybe there would be an upgrade at the wide receiver job. I'm surprised. I think I said it a few weeks ago. I'm like, it seems like the writing on the wall is that he'll be gone here. I might have said I'd be shocked if he comes back. I'm not shocked, but I am surprised. What were your thoughts, Corey, when you saw that Dugans had received an extension?
Yeah, I don't know if surprise is the right word. It doesn't matter what I feel emotions about it. I wonder. We talked about that on headlines. Like they probably went after somebody and couldn't get him, right?
No, we know they did. They went after Jawan Sire from Penn State to try to be co-OC. So
correct. So basically what that means is I know there's been some chairs that have been shuffled, but it's essentially there's no new blood in the staff. Randy Shannon was here last year. He's now a co-DC and linebackers coach, but he was on the staff last year. He was helping, I'm sure, game plan. And then Atkins has been promoted to OC. Tokars is the QB coach, but he was part of the coaching staff last year too. So there really hasn't been any change at all. I mean, I know there's been changes, but there hasn't been any fresh blood, any new faces in the coaching staff. The Fuller and Ratliff news, Fuller, nobody's been around the Big Ben. I mean, Fuller's been around for 10 or 15 years. He coached at FAMU for a little bit. He coached at Godby. He's just been around.
He can still play. He can still suit him up, man.
Yeah, he's a Big Ben fixture.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, man, I think, I understand the frustration with Dugans for sure. It's hard to go through a whole signing class and not get a receiver. And it's not like the guys he have been knocking it out of the park. Again, you guys know how I feel about a receivers coach. I'm sure there's little intricacies you can teach here or there. Mainly it's a lot of God-given ability and natural talent and hard work from that player that make them great receivers. It's not a lot of Ron Dugans teaching how to do a 7-yard out cut. So I think that job is about recruiting, man, and he has not done well on that front. It certainly would have been understandable, right, if they had gone in a different direction. Now I got to feel like, these transfers are a stopgap. They're a Band-Aid. You think maybe they end up being good, but you've got to prove that you can get some big time receivers to come to Florida State. This is crazy now. For who was the last big time receiver that came here out of high school? I mean,
Travis Rudolph.
Yeah. It has been a minute. So they need to figure out what to do to get these guys that we see scoring touchdowns all over our TV screens on Saturdays. Try to get one or two of them to actually come to Florida State, because it has not gone well in that department. That is a recruiting position, and it needs to be filled by somebody that can get the job done recruiting. I'm not saying Dugans isn't that guy. He just has not proven to be since he got here, and I would assume this is his last. I mean, I shouldn't. You're right. We don't know was it a 1-year extension?
Well,
was it a 3-year extension? We don't know.
We put a request in, but we haven't got it yet.
I'm going to assume it's a 1 year, but you never know. But you got to feel like this is a prove it year for him, man, on the recruiting trail. But look, if he has 3 guys that go out and combine for 2,900 yards receiving and 21 touchdowns, all of a sudden people might feel a little better. It's the fact that he hasn't been able to stock the roster with great talent on top of the guys he does haven't exactly produced huge numbers. So it's a two-pronged problem. He needs to figure at least one of the prongs out, and hopefully both of them.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, just the absolute minimum of that position is just recruit, man. Just recruit. You're able to provide ideas and some concepts that you want to run to the offense. I just think if Norvell were to get sick, man, I don't know how many people would have to go down on that offensive staff before Ron Dugans would get play calling responsibilities on a game. Alex Atkins is in front of him. I'm sure Tokars is probably in front of him. Chris Thompson's probably in front of him.
Well, yeah, I think that's probably the natural pyramid on any coaching staff, I would think.
I don't know, though. I mean, it's definitely closer. Again, I hate just to bring up like one example. I mean, Lincoln Riley was a receivers coach, man. I'm not saying it was his sort of, he's a wizard and he's just making these guys run amazing routes, but I'm sure he had ideas and concepts of what he liked to do offensively that I'm sure the offensive coordinators that he worked under were like, all right, that's pretty good. We can work that in. I just don't get the impression that Ron is here for that. So if you are here merely to recruit, this feels like almost, if Tom Brady's retiring a year too early, this feels like you're holding on a year too long. I personally just think so. If Micah Pittman and Johnny Wilson do well, I mean, I don't know. To your point, like you're supposed to recruit guys. It seems like they talked more about Kenny Dillingham, who's no longer here, than they did Ron Dugans. So does he gets to get credit for that? I guess it is a group project, man. Everyone's going to get an A. If they win 9 games, everybody's going to get the praise. So he'll sort of hold on to those coattails. But it does seem odd to me, especially when news did leak out there that you made a run after somebody else. So you weren't happy with what you had. You were looking to make a change, and then ultimately you're like, I find it hard to believe that you're like, well, we can certainly do much worse. So let's just stand pat, because I feel like you could probably certainly do better. But again, hey, we'll see. He knows better than I do, and I mean that sincerely. What do I know? Well, I'm just some dude, so I will trust Mike Norvell and what he wants to get done here, and we'll see how it works out with this schedule that also dropped on Monday. Corey, hope that everybody checked out the live show as well as the replay podcast with Ira Jean and Tom Lang talking about the schedule that dropped. You wrote a column You didn't hate him. You didn't hate anything about it. Look at you, so optimistic and everything. The Friday games were a bit of a surprise. I guess I want to start there first with the Florida game. I'm cool with it. Somebody tweeted at me, why, to which I didn't feel like engaging because I engaged with somebody else and got into like a 7-tweet exchange. I'm like, this is too much. I'm fatigued. I'm exhausted. Yeah. It was fine though. No one got mad at the other person, but I kind of like the Friday window after Thanksgiving. Hey man, if it's a 3:00 game, you get an 8 a.m., 9 a.m. tea time with the boys, smash some claws, play 18, and then you get to watch the game. Or, make your way to Tallahassee. You don't have to worry about tailgating. Just bring leftovers up. But I do like that window because I remember being a kid and watching like A&M and Texas play. Then I think it was Colorado and Nebraska for a while. Maybe even before that, it used to be Nebraska and Oklahoma played on that Friday. And let's be honest, man, this game just doesn't have juice right now. So either give yourself like the exclusivity window and try to get more eyeballs on it, and maybe you do have like a really fantastic game and it helps bring more attention to it because as of right now, man, you're competing against the Iron Bowl. You're competing against the game with Michigan and Ohio State. I think Bedlam might even be going down some Saturdays after Thanksgiving. So, this game just hasn't really had a lot of juice lately. So why not try to provide another angle to maybe boost some life into it. But I don't like the fact that it's a one-off. If they were going to move this, like we're going to do a 10-year agreement, we're going to do 5 here, 5 there, like cool, this is kind of maybe the beginning of a new tradition, but it sounds like it's kind of like a money grab. We spread our wallet open for anybody. Sounds like, according to Gene's reporting, ESPN had kind of sweetened the pot for us to move it to Friday. But I don't know, I guess a lot of fans don't like it because it is the day after Thanksgiving. Your thoughts, Corey?
Yeah, and that's what I agree with both. I agree with what you're saying. Number one, it'll be a night game. It won't be Friday afternoon, so it'll be a Friday night, which guarantees that it's in prime time.
Do we know, though? There are 3:30 games on Fridays, ABC. I think A&M and Texas used to be like a 3:30 game.
I think they were told that to do it, they were guaranteed a primetime spot.
Okay.
That made it worthwhile.
All right.
So you're guaranteed, you should be anyway. Yeah, if it's an afternoon game, I will have a whole different opinion on this. Maybe I shouldn't, but I would. But a Friday night, 7:30 start, when the reality is if they're two mediocre teams again, you're looking at a noon start on Saturday. So you're looking at a difference of 16 hours on kickoff time. And you get the whole night to yourself. You get everybody watching that's interested at all. It does add a little juice, and no matter how good the team is or isn't, the stadium will have a more electric atmosphere than it would for a noon game on the next day. It just would.
You think so? See, people, I think from what I've seen, people think that this is just an absolute killer for the local economy. Like no one's going to show up
absolutely.
for the game.
I do agree with that, but I don't think that will hurt. I think that hotels are going to be screwed, which who cares when you're going to charge $500 a night in some of those places.
I saw a guy on Twitter, T Money Noles. Sorry to interrupt you again, Corey, but this guy, T Money Noles, on Twitter tweeted at us at the Warchant account. He was trying to already book his Boston College hotel week, and it's already like $520 at the Courtyard off Capitol Circle.
A night.
Yes.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So, Florida, the hotels never work with Florida State to make it more manageable for people in any age to come and watch these games. They're gonna hike up the rates 400% no matter what, no matter if the team is good or not, no matter if they just do not work with Florida State or try to make it more manageable for fans to get into town and stay for a couple nights. So I don't really care at all that Florida State doesn't work with the hotel. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the hotels will take a hit. Oh well, you haven't worked with this school for decades. Yeah. All you do is raise your rates out of control, where people have to stay in Thomasville or some other city because they don't want to spend $500 at your crappy hotel a night for 2-night minimum, too, by the way. So whatever, man. Screw off. Sorry, didn't mean get to
no,
too
keep going.
There.
I like the fire. I like to know the fire
listening.
still exists in you, Corey.
So, but the point being, I think it'll be a who knows if it'll be full, but it wouldn't have been full Saturday at noon either. But I think the crowd will be, maybe a little more lively at night. Okay. It'll have more of an electric feel just because it's a night game. It's a night Florida State game. They do, no matter how good the teams are or aren't, there will be a better atmosphere and a better feel than if it was like a Saturday afternoon. So that part I don't mind, and I also don't mind that, okay, maybe you scratch ESPN's back. Maybe they look out for you, or maybe they give you the off day before Louisville. Maybe that's how that worked. Louisville has to play UCF on Saturday, before that Friday night game against Florida State 6 days later. Meanwhile, Florida State has the whole week off. So they get 12 days off. So maybe there was some give and take to make sure that Friday night thing happened. But I also so I get it. I get it from Florida State's point of view. I get it for ESPN's point of view. What I also can understand the frustration is, man, as somebody that's done this, you've probably done this too. I went to a lot of Florida games with my dad the day after Thanksgiving. You didn't go to games with my dad, I understand, but you came up those weekends. And it was fun to get in on a Friday night before the game. You had the Friday night to go out and have fun. You had the Saturday to look forward to, tailgate, the game. Then you go stay at the hotel, then you get up Sunday and leave. Well, they've eliminated that now. Like, people aren't going to come into town Thursday night, probably. They got to spend time with their families, even if they don't want to, because it's Thanksgiving. Yeah. So it's gonna be a lot of people driving in the day of the game, and maybe turning around and driving right back when the game is over. So I understand that frustration. I clearly do, because you're either asking people to leave Thanksgiving early for this game, or you're asking them to just kind of come in the day of the game, and you lose some of the experience of a Florida State game where you get to kind of get juiced all day and go tailgate, and you don't have a 5-hour car ride to make. So I understand that frustration too, and the fact that it appears to be a one-off, and it's when Florida State's hosting. By the way, the first time they've hosted in 3 years, the last 2 games have been at Florida. Both those games were on Saturdays, but when Florida State gets it, all of a sudden we gotta do this weird Friday night deal because, of course. So I get that frustration too, but I think the good could possibly outweigh the bad. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that atmosphere, it's guaranteed to be a pretty strong one, which is what you're going to need, especially being 11-0. You're going to be 11-0. You're going to be what, number 2 in the country, Aslan? Would you say number 2 or number 3?
Number 1, man. That's going to be a quality stretch over, Georgia Tech and Syracuse 2 out of 3 weeks. I think that'll push them into
push
first.
Them past like a one-loss Bama.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that you're going to want to hold on to that number 1 ranking, and it also gives you an extra day to prepare for the ACC championship.
Bingo.
Those are the things you got to think about, folks. Hey, they're playing chess over there at Moore. They're not playing checkers. They know what's up. It's not just a money grab. Trying to, get the team ready for Charlotte. So I get it, man. It's a shock to the system. I know they played on Friday back in 1979, but there's a reason this game is normally on Saturdays. But it should be noted, I know that Alabama and Auburn have played on Fridays before. Like, this isn't out of the realm.
The Apple Cup.
This does happen.
Yeah, the Apple Cup, I think, goes down on Friday or has.
Yeah, the Egg Bowl is Thursday. So there are natural big rivalries. Not that the Egg Bowl is anything close to the Sunshine State Showdown presented by whoever presents it. But, this has happened. This is part of college football. It's just I can understand the shock to the system of it's been on Saturday for our whole lives. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it come out of the blue, you're on a Friday night right after Thanksgiving. That's a tough one.
The one thing I do not like, I don't know if you wrote this in your column. I didn't want to read and steal your thoughts for my own, subconsciously, Corey.
You can go ahead and read my stuff, man. I would appreciate it.
No, I'm going to after the show. I don't read it before. I know we're going to talk about a certain topic. Literally week 2 for everybody else. I know Florida State's got a week 0 game, but I know they got 2 byes, so that's cool. But that bye after the LSU game, I don't know, man. I think no matter what, win or lose after LSU, I think you want to play. Because you're either 2-0 and you're like, man, we are back. Let's go. Next team up. We're going to run through them like blank through a tin horn. Or if you lose that game, you want to obviously wipe the taste out of your mouth and get back on the right track. And it's all right, then we're going to have a week off and then jump back onto a Friday night game at Louisville. I don't like that layout. I don't know how much say-so the staff has in that. I like playing them Sunday, and then if you came back and played, Louisville on a Saturday, obviously, I don't know how much that would have going to work into it, but just that stretch there, which I'm like, 18-year-old Aslan's looking down at me from the pass and like laughing at me. But like at Louisville on a Friday night, BC, Wake Forest, NC State, Clemson, for where this program is, that is pretty challenging. It would be nice to have that broken up a little bit, and you don't. So I don't like it. I don't know what you could have done. I don't like being the guy that complains without providing an alternative viewpoint or solution, but a week 2 bye, that's like having a bye in week 4 of the NFL season. Like, what's the point? But I think we're a slave to everything else around us.
It's all about the week 0 game, though, right? Like obviously that wouldn't have happened if they didn't have Duquesne on the schedule.
Right.
So throw it in a normal schedule. That Saturday game would be against Duquesne. So you'd be wouldn't you rather open with Duquesne and get a bye week in week 3, week 2, however you want to phrase it, than open with LSU and then play Duquesne on that next Saturday and then only get one bye week like everybody else? You know what I mean? Like those were the options. Like they playing Duquesne the first week, week 0, meant you had to have another bye week. So I think the ACC this isn't. No other team gets another bye week. We didn't tell them to schedule a game in mid-August. So what we're going to do is give them where they should be playing Duquesne, where everybody else is playing these wackadoo schools. We're going to just give them their bye week then. And it's like, it's not even really it's just it's odd, but it's an odd schedule in general to start a season before everyone else and then have an LSU on a Sunday. You had to have the 2 byes somewhere, and I think they were trying to make it, maybe more equitable for the rest of the conference, that Florida State doesn't get, you get a bye week at the beginning of October and another one in November? Like, that's not fair to the other schools that are having to play 10 out of 11 weeks, and you get 2 weeks off in 6. So they wanted to make it probably as fair as possible for the rest of the league, I would think. But again, I think the alternative, what they have now, it's not ideal, but the alternative to what they have, this alternative is better than the other one because it guarantees, gosh darn it, that you start off 1-0. And if you don't start off 1-0 this year, fire everybody. And Aslan and I are coaching the team. We'll bring in Andrea Adelson, Staples, Deckerhoff, and Cameron. We'll do it like a spring game. I don't care. If they don't start off this season 1-0, fire everyone immediately. Let Krikorian coach the team.
All right, I want to get to a serious.
You can't come back from that.
I want to get to a serious line in the sand game later on, but
okay.
LSU obviously that's going to be their first game of the season, so I do like the way that sets up for Florida State.
And also
that tune-up.
I also like it. We always they started this last season on a Sunday night, and then had a short turnaround to play a weak opponent the next Saturday, and we all remember how that turned out. Like these short, basically 5-day weeks instead of 7. You basically get 5 days. You have to have a day off. So I like that they get that bye, whatever you want to call it, a bye open date right after that LSU game, because those Saturday games after a Sunday nighter are always gross. Always. They never look pretty. And sometimes you lose on a Hail Mary on the last play of the game.
Sometimes you do. Looking at the schedule, I think I tweeted 8-4. Anything less would be underwhelming. I don't know if I really want to open the can of worms on that one yet. But looking at this,
I think you could agree with that. I think everybody would agree with that.
I don't know. There's a lot of, I'll take 6 or I'll take 7, and it's like, what?
Yeah, but you're not going to be ecstatic about it. I think that's why I think underwhelming is the perfect descriptor for that. Like, if they go 7-5, all right, man, I guess. But nobody's going to be doing cartwheels and saying this guy's definitely the answer. I think anything over 8-4 would be almost overwhelming to me, and anything under 8-4 would be underwhelming. I think that's fair.
This is just going to be, I guess that's the time and age that we live in right now. Everything is so week to week. Like I'm looking at it, I think that Wake Forest game is like one of the more crucial games, just because I think it's going to give us the most accurate glimpse into how much growth this program has really made, at least from 2021 until this season here. I mean, if you beat LSU, I don't know what the future holds for LSU in 2022. I really haven't started scouting them out yet. I do know they're losing plenty. They have a whole new coaching staff they're breaking in. So, we catch them at a good time early in the season. We have a tune-up. They don't. Won't downplay the significance of beating an SEC West team. But I do think, crazily enough, like if you beat LSU but then you lose to Wake Forest, how do you feel? But if you lose LSU and you beat Wake Forest, then you start saying to yourself, well, whatever, at least this was a conference win. Like the Wake Forest, they're going to be probably, I don't know, they'll definitely be ranked preseason ahead of Florida State. They'll probably be the 3rd team in the Atlantic. We might be 4th. I don't know. NC State might be 1st, Clemson 2nd. But to me, the Wake Forest game is again, probably the most important game of the season. We said that going to last year, but kind of where it was positioned. I think this is more just along the lines of that point of this season. 5 games in, you'll be on your 5th game. You'll have had a week off in there to figure things out as well. man, you beat that team at home. I know it's Wake. I don't want to jump for joy on that, but I think that's going to give us might be the next litmus test after LSU if LSU isn't ultimately the litmus test that we use in the first half of the season.
Yeah, I think if after that Wake game you're 3-2, you feel okay. If you're 4-1, you're like, oh boy, this might be something.
Yeah.
And if you're 5-0, Katie barred the door. I'm calling Charlotte and booking hotels, and wherever the national championship game is next year. It used to be a time, Aslan, in this job where I would actually know that.
Yeah.
I would actually know, okay, where is it next year? Where are the playoffs next year? Not really concerned all that much these days with that. But maybe this is the year I get concerned again. Let's hope. Here's hoping. But yeah, that Wake Forest, you'll know everything you need to know about the team, I think, after that Wake Forest game. Injuries aside, that is a really big one. And, you play LSU in New Orleans, you have a week off, and then you play at Louisville on a Friday night, which certainly isn't an easy proposition. I mean, Louisville beat you last year, and that quarterback is back. And it's a Friday night game. It's going to be an environment. So that's certainly not an easy game. If you can get through that 5-game stretch 3-2 and not say 0-5 like you started last year or 1-4, I think you feel good about the direction of the season and quite possibly the direction of the program. I mean, at some point you got to start beating Louisville again, man. You just got to. Chris Mack got fired recently in part because he can't ever beat Florida State in basketball. Well, this is football. Florida State can't keep straight taking L's to Louisville. So hopefully that trend ends this year. Same thing with Wake Forest. Like you got to get to where you want to go at some point in your tenure, you've got to start beating the teams like Wake Forest and Louisville and Boston College routinely. And so that's those 3 games. Those are your first 3 ACC games. Louisville, Boston College, Wake Forest. 2 of them are at home. Yep. You should theoretically come out of that stretch at worst 2-1. And we'll believe in maybe what you're doing. If you come out 1-2 in that stretch or 0-3, then man, the seed is on fire.
Oh, yes!
Of course, man, because at that point you're 1-4 and you're in year 3 with half a team full of transfers. Yeah, of course. But look, it's February, so that's me saying that now, and I there's no way I would change my tune if we're talking about after the Wake Forest game about a 1-4 football team that's currently on a 4-game losing streak in year 3. Unless they're playing like Rodemaker and a bunch of freshman linemen because of a crazy injury bug or something. There are extenuating circumstances. But yeah, man, at some point, this is the year. It's not the year to win a championship, but it's the year to show real growth and actually have results that matter. And keep continually losing to Wake Forest and Louisville ain't how you win over a fan base, and it's not how you keep your job at Florida State.
I do think you could probably make the argument if you're in that situation that Tate Rodemaker starting games that you mismanage your roster at the quarterback spot, but I don't want to get into that. The one game, and I'm being serious on this. I mean, you joke around if you lose to Duquesne, everything, blow the whole thing up. I can't imagine it.
Sure.
I really can't, not to jinx it. That Georgia Tech game, that to me is going to be an important game because I think either A, you're coming out of that bye week limping. You might be on a 3-game losing streak. You might have dropped 2 out of your last 4, 2 out of your last 3. I mean, you could arguably beat Wake, but then lose on the road to NC State and then lose to Clemson at home. There might be no shame in that. Those are 2 teams that are going to be ranked ahead of you in the preseason. And I think that Georgia Tech team is going to be quite atrocious. So I think you can either be limping coming out of that bye, or you could be really riding a high. And if you come out flat against a Georgia Tech team, and maybe get a scare or lose that's just catastrophic because I think Georgia Tech is going to be probably the worst team in the entire conference. And if you can win that game and come out and be sharp, and either kind of recoup and get back on the right track or just keep the winning streak going, that just shows you how mature this team is and how much you're going to probably be capable of once November rolls around. So I know it's a weird kind of game to look at, but the way it's positioned after what's going to be I hate saying it because I just don't believe that they're more talented than Florida State, but that's a tough stretch. Friday night, Louisville, Boston College, Wake, at NC State, home against Clemson. That's a tough slate. What are you going to be looking like coming out of that, coming out of that bye week after that sort of stretch? So I am curious to see how they're going to play against a Georgia Tech team because, again, if they're limping coming out of that bye and they lose, if they lose to a 2-5 Georgia Tech team, man, then that's just – Oof.
Well, yeah, and then you got at Miami the next week,
Yeah.
which if you lose at home to Georgia Tech, you're not going on the road and winning at Miami. So all of a sudden you could be looking at a 4-game losing streak again in the middle of the season. These are all, yeah, man. But we knew. I think when you look at the schedule in its totality, we knew who they were playing. We
Yeah.
knew all these games were on the schedule. We just didn't know when. I think it's structured in a way where you have a chance. Like you don't have. At NC State and Clemson is clearly the toughest 2-game stretch. But then you have a bye week in Georgia Tech before you play at Miami. And then you have, Syracuse and Louisiana before Florida.
Yeah.
You have a bye before going on the road at Louisville. You have Duquesne on the schedule. You have Boston College, who you beat last year, at home between what should be tougher games with at Louisville and home against Wake. But you look at that schedule, man, and Jeff was saying this on Tuesday on headlines that, they're probably underdogs in half those games. Probably. I mean, that's us in February talking. We'll see what we're saying in August, but they're probably underdogs in half of those games or close to it. Maybe they're favored by a point against Wake Forest. Maybe somehow they're favored on the road at Louisville by a couple points, but that I don't know how that would be unless they play really well against LSU.
Right.
But the point being, again, they'll be favored in half. They'll be underdogs in half, but none of them will be over 8 or 10 points, we don't think. So they're all winnable. All but what? 2 are losable? Duquesne's probably not losable. And pick between like Georgia Tech, Louisiana, one of the other ones at Syracuse.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not losable. But I feel like they're all losable. Maybe not Louisiana. Maybe at the end of the year they'll be a little bit beat up and they don't have their coach anymore or a lot of their good players.
Yeah,
but you're also playing Florida 6 days later. So it's, how focused are you going to be that Saturday? So it was never going to be an easy schedule. And, but it's set up where you get some breaks. You don't have a 3-game road streak, 3 games away from home. You don't have a month where you don't play at home. It's evened out to where you have your home game. It seems like you have 1 or 2 at home each month, 1 or 2 on the road each month. No rivals back to back. A bye week right after Clemson, which is good. And you play NC State the week after they play Clemson. So that's good news. You play Louisville 6 days after they play at UCF, who's going to be looking for revenge for what happened last year on a Friday night in Louisville. And you play somebody else right after they play Clemson. Maybe Wake. I think you host Wake the week after they play Clemson. So that helps too. Like the fact that those teams will both be coming off games against Clemson where you got to imagine they're at least a little bit beat up, and now they have to play you. So you could be able to take advantage of both those games.
I think you're right mainly there. And you're right on the whole. The only thing, and it just being absolutely nitpicky, and you're not going to have the way you want it. But I think in an ideal world, you probably swap. I don't know. I'd like to swap Syracuse and Louisville. Like I'd like to have at Syracuse like game 3. Although again, maybe a little bit of a more challenging team, but when you get 12 days to prepare for, so it's not the end of the world. But that's going to be a tricky one. But he's under siege too, though, Scott Satterfield. So who knows? So let's flip it to the positive on this, because people were replying when I tweeted out 8-4, anything less would be underwhelming, and a couple of needling me about what happened to the 10 wins, Aslan. To which I was like, yeah, man, I never subscribed to that, but I was always my sort of belief in that was, or not belief, but my whole sort of reason for bringing it up is that, again, there is a vocal part of this fan base that is very encouraged by nearly anything and everything that Mike Norvell does. And they're very excited about the transfer prospects. They do seem to think that Jared Verse is going to be quite seamlessly a replacement for either Kier or Jermaine. They do think that Micah Pittman is going to look maybe like his brother. They do think that Johnny Wilson's going to maybe be some sort of Kelvin Benjamin 2.0. I mean, there's a lot of confidence about the guys they brought in the portal, that they've addressed certain needs. That, again, man, if your belief in these prospects, your belief in this coaching staff, and you looked at the way the schedule was last season, you were 5-7, but you believe in this quarterback who, I don't know, maybe if he doesn't even miss 2 series against Florida, maybe that game ends differently. He doesn't play against Louisville. He doesn't play against NC State. He gets limited action against Wake Forest. He does not play at all against Jacksonville State. To me, I just think if you think this is like another 7-5 to me with this schedule to me is just that's 2021 with a few bounces going your way. So like for me, real growth has to be that kind of 8-win threshold. And that reason I said 10 is because, listen, we don't know anything about LSU. We don't know what LSU is going to do at quarterback right now. We don't know if it's going to be, Miles Brennan. Finally, his brittle bones are going to be able to. Yeah, I think like Miles Brennan's our odds-on favorite guy to maybe start at quarterback there. We don't know.
We know it's not going to be Caleb Williams. That was good news on Tuesday because LSU was in the running for him.
I saw another ridiculous. I saw the Rivals portal tweet some crazy story about, like Wisconsin. They're like, could Wisconsin be the mix for Caleb Williams? I'm like, what? Has he committed yet or no?
Yeah, he hadn't. But he committed on Tuesday, finally.
Oh, Southern Cal?
Yeah, to Southern Cal.
Good.
But it had been, LSU had been a pretty strong rumor there for a while. I guess he just didn't like Brian Kelly grinding on him. I don't know what's wrong with that kid that he doesn't enjoy those kind of videos.
Have an open mind,
out there.
Caleb. Have an open mind. Yeah,
that would have been. Imagine leaving Oklahoma and spurning LSU and USC to go play at Wisconsin and hand the ball off 50 times a game.
Yeah. But again, we don't know a lot about LSU. We feel good, obviously, about the Duquesne game. Louisville, you hung with them last year with a.
Well, don't you think, Aslan, when you look at that schedule on the whole, it's especially right now in February, it's easier than what we thought the 2021 schedule was going to be. Notre Dame and LSU, you can say that's a wash.
Yeah.
But Duquesne's certainly easier than Jacksonville State, we hope. And then Georgia Tech's easier than whoever else you had, like North Carolina. You got Florida and Clemson at home, and you almost won both those games on the road last year. So you're thinking, okay, a little bit easier schedule. You could be much improved. You should at least be improved. That should at the very least, get you to 7. If you don't just have a catastrophic injury season, it should at least get you to 7. And if some breaks go your way, it could get you to 9. Because, you can't have another 5-7 season with a better team and an easier schedule. Or at least you hope you don't. So, you think 7, looking at that schedule and the way it's laid out, you hope that's the floor. I mean, of course it isn't. The floor could be – I've stopped giving up on what the floor is. It could be 2-10. But I think that schedule, you're hoping 7-5, 8-4 at the as a baseline.
Absolutely, because again, you hung with Louisville, you beat Boston College and the referees. Wake Forest, you didn't have your quarterback. That game, that was like 35-14. It was
35-14, but it was also 6 turnovers. And one going in on a QB sneak at the goal line. It wasn't. I don't think Wake was 21 points better than Florida State that day, and Florida State didn't. Jordan Travis played like 4 series. Yeah. So this should be a whole different Florida State offense that they see.
And that is a team that does play Clemson the week before they come to Doak. Yeah. So that's another one. At NC State, that's, I think you asked a few weeks ago, what do you think is going to be the hardest game on the schedule? And I said at Miami, maybe at NC State.
Yeah.
But again, man, you hung with them, and that was the flu game. Clemson, we know that you were 2 first downs away from winning that game, right. Although they're going to probably have a better quarterback if that freshman is everything that he's touted to be. Georgia Tech, that's a absolute travesty. What's not a travesty, but just Georgia Tech they're rudderless. They're going nowhere quickly. Who knows what's going to happen with Miami? They don't even have a coaching staff right now. Oh, real quick edit right here, everybody. After we got done recording, apparently Miami has gone ahead and hired Kevin Steele, stealing him away from Maryland to be their next offensive coordinator. We'll get Corey's thoughts on that tomorrow. I don't like that hire. I think it's a good hire. I don't like it. Anyhow, let's go. You always feel good about Syracuse. And then Louisiana lost their coach, and he took most of their good players like a jerk. And then you have the Florida game. So, why not? Why?
And Florida's a first-year coach.
Yeah, why not look at that and be like, hey, man, we might only trip up 2 times. Again, I don't subscribe to that. But, again, if you believe that this coach is sharp and he's elite and there's just something different about him, and that this quarterback is actually pretty good after all, if you can figure out a way to utilize his skills the best way possible, and he's got people to throw to now, why wouldn't you be more confident about coming out and feeling good about the season as opposed to, let's just win 7 games. That's what you can say 7 wins, I'll take it, but you've got to be the guy that doesn't know and hasn't made their mind up on Mike Norvell. You can't make your mind up and say he's the dude and then Jordan Travis is actually probably one of the better quarterbacks in this conference, and you just pulled an absolute heist on the Pac-12 and pulling these wide receivers, but we're going to, we'll eke out 2 more wins. Like that to me, that doesn't jive up. And I've said that, and I'll probably say it a couple more times to make you guys ill. But, overall in the whole, yes, that you look at the schedule, like this isn't – it's not Everest. We're not climbing Everest. Maybe we're climbing the Bridger Mountains in Bozeman, Montana, but we're not climbing Everest on this one.
Agreed. And also remember that, like, out of the 5 toughest games that you have before this, as we look at it in February, I would say are LSU, at NC State, Florida at home, Clemson at home, at Miami. Maybe throw Wake in there, but I'm not, for this purpose, I'm not. Yeah. Well, LSU has a first-year coach. Florida has a first-year coach. Miami has a first-year coach who still has not filled out any part of his staff yet. And then Clemson went from having the best defensive coordinator in football to having Dabo's old college roommate running the show. I know Clemson's still going to have talent, but they've lost a lot of coaches. So meanwhile, you're on year 3 of basically the same staff. So again, the excuses, and they're excuses for a reason, they're legitimate, but they start to wane now. Like as we look at this season and who you're going up against, they start to wane. There is no reason, again, I say this knowing it's 10 months from now, and it's on Black Friday. So who knows? But there's no reason you shouldn't be able to beat Florida and Billy Napier in his first year as head coach at Florida. There isn't. Same thing with and I'm not saying you're supposed to beat Miami at Miami, but yeah, Cristobal has a nice quarterback. But other than that, he doesn't even have a coaching staff yet. LSU's going to be playing their first game with a new head coach. I know it's in the Superdome. Go buy tickets, everyone. You can make it a 50-50 crowd. Either way, there's really no excuse to just be like, it's LSU, man. They're tough. All right, well, when is Florida State going to be tough? When is it going to get to the point again where LSU fans are like, man, I don't like play. Why are we playing Florida State?
Yeah.
That's got to start. And you're now in year 3. And I know rebuilds can be slow, but they don't have to be glacial. And that's why I think if it gets to 7 wins, again, he's not going to get fired for 7 wins. The seat will be warm, but he won't get fired for that. But Florida State fans are expecting more. They want the jump to happen at some point. And no, it's not you can't rush it, but you look at that schedule, your team should be better. All these teams could and should be worse than what you played last year. And last year you finished on a 5-3 streak where 2 of the losses basically came down to the final few plays at Clemson and at Florida. And the other loss was when you didn't have your starting quarterback because he was out with the flu. So you were trending in the right direction. Let's see if you can keep that momentum going. And man, how big would it be, Aslan, not to just start off with a big win over the Dukes? I mean, that's gonna turn the city upside down in and of itself. But to go beat LSU in New Orleans, there isn't any reason you can't do that. And if you go win that game, buddy, all of a sudden there is some juice around this program for the first time since Dalvin was a running back here. That's how long it's been. Man, that would be so cool to get a win at LSU and to feel good again about this thing.
We will be speaking to A.J. Duffy, freshman quarterback, here later on Wednesday morning. We'll have a live transcript of his comments as well as a video replay of it. On Tuesday, we did speak to probably, maybe the 2 top, other than Julian Armella, 2 of your most highly coveted, highly ranked prospects for the 2022 class in the high school level. And that's Sam McCall and Azaria Thomas, I apologize. Sounds like McCall, I heard him say cornerback a whole bunch, Corey. I know you had to, jump off and head up headlines, but I think you were on the McCall call. But that was surprising to me because he's like 6'3", 190. I like that. That sounds awesome for a cornerback, but I just don't know how many of those guys are out there, especially when they're 18 years old playing that. I always thought he was more of a safety, but that's very intriguing. I just thought it was interesting to kind of hear him talk about he understood kind of where this program was and what that season was going to look like, although I don't think anybody really – there's nobody way anybody thought 0-4 was going to happen, but the fact he talked about it was important for him to maintain his confidence in what Norvell was doing and to block out the negativity. That was impressive. And then juxtaposed against Azaria Thomas, who, quite frankly, I think in as many words, pretty much at some point told the staff, like, no, like, I'm not coming to Florida State. Thanks, but no thanks. But then one by one, all the schools he was interested in, whether it was Florida, whether it was LSU, or whether it was Oklahoma, lost their head coaches. And then the whole time, Norvell is sticking around there and is able to kind of pull him in last minute. And he might end up being one of the more intriguing, talented, successful guys from this class. If you listen to what Marcus Woodson's had to say, and he's tweeted about him a few times, I think, ever since he arrived on campus. So those are my big sort of takeaways, is that, good head on their shoulders from both these guys. And, it kind of goes to show either Norvell's got really good messaging when it comes to keeping a guy like McCall happy and able to stick through his commitment, and able to, walk that delicate balance of staying busy and in that kid's ear, because he did say, he was kind of laughing, Thomas was, about, like, hey man, like they would not stop, and the fact he was able to kind of walk that delicate line and not be overbearing about it and get him to come in here, encouraging kind of developments when you hope that this is a guy that's going to be able to not only continue what he's doing in the transfer portal, but also get more elite 18-year-old kids coming out of high school. So those are my key takeaways. And Ozari Thomas said he did not go in the booth. He was not in the recording studio rapping in the video. So.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Yeah, there were only about 12 of them. It looked like your boy Robert Scott was one of them for sure.
I saw a clip.
And also, it's not all a video. Like, I think maybe the video's going in the background. The song is going in the background. It's all a video.
Yeah.
But it's not all the song. Like the last minute is them like interviewing Norvell and the players. Like the players giving sound bites about what they're trying to build and starting the season and starting the program resurrection and all that. So it's not all of them just, we are the world in the sound booth acting like they're singing. When it came to McCall, I thought it was interesting too that he's like, yeah, I'm starting at corner. The kid doesn't lack confidence, which is great because you need it at that position. But he's like, yeah, I'm tall, I'm long, he goes, I know I can run with anyone. It's like, all right, well, that's good to know. That's confident. So yeah, man, it's always good to know that you have DBs with confidence, because once they lose that, they ain't any good. What about this, Aslan? Anytime he makes a play, what do you think about going McCall?
I'm in. I'm all in. I'm actually.
I don't know if the PA system plays it or the fans do it, but you make like the bird call every time Sam McCall makes a play. And I like the fact that Thomas talked about Norvell kind of in that mold, because I was thinking about it when you were explaining it. It was like, I guess kids still go to prom, right? That's still a thing in high schools. They haven't gotten rid of that.
Except the COVID year, a lot of people didn't have prom 2020.
Like a girl is holding out, a young lady is holding out. One kid asks her, she's friends with him, but she's hoping that guy asks her, or that guy asks her. And then they slowly start pairing off with other people. And the guy that asked her first is still around, still like hanging in, like, hey, just if you need him, just as friends. We'll just go as friends. If you just need to know, if you just need to go, I'll be there for you. We'll just be friends. He's there the whole time. He rides it out. She's like, all right, fine. I guess I'll go with you. I don't have any other options. And then it turns out he's the best dancer in the place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's hosting the party afterwards or whatever. He's got a stretch limo, whatever it is that impresses this young lady. This kid has it in spades, and once she's around him in that setting, she realizes it, and they live happily ever after.
I like it. Yeah, that's what we're hoping, man. That's what we're hoping. Because that's kind of the position he had to take this past year in recruiting guys. So
yeah, it's just holding off, waiting to see if they went with somebody better. Who'd you take to prom?
Junior year or senior year? I mean, no girl that I dated. I never had a serious girlfriend until I was moved to Mississippi, man.
So how did that? So I had a girlfriend. That's the only reason I went. But how did you ask? You asked the girl you weren't dating?
Yeah. Well, I had my group of my dudes. Like, we had a group of girls that we kind of ran with. So everybody kind of paired up, and then I went with Deanna. That was the girl that I went with. Actually,
but
no,
that
was yeah. That was senior year homecoming. I didn't go to prom junior year. I went to prom senior year, and then I went with a freshman when my senior year to just staying on brand to where I'm at now, dating girls that are young women. I'm sorry, that are much younger than me. But
you took a freshman to prom?
Yeah, I took a freshman to prom.
Well, who was Deanna then?
She was that was homecoming senior year.
Oh, gotcha. So
Don't want to retread and bring the same date, in the same year.
Obviously,
can't do that.
man, that's uncouth. But with somebody like Deanna, I always wondered this because you hear this all the time about girls and boys pairing off at prom with their friends. At homecoming, though, do you try to make a move romantically because it's the setting and you're supposed to, or are you just hanging out like you do just playing Xbox?
Yeah, so I had like the fake ID and everything, and my parents gave me a credit card so I could build good credit. So like I was the one that ended up always booking hotels. So like I booked I think like 2 or 3 hotel rooms for all of us. There was like a group of 10 or 12 of us.
For homecoming?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
So like limousine, bus, all that kind of nonsense or whatever.
Okay.
But actually, my best friend to this day, who's now on wife number 3, love him, love you by the way, big guy. He actually beat me to the punch on that one. Not that it was going to happen. I was totally in the friend zone. I was, I did not have. I had fake confidence. I had fugazi confidence back then, not the stuff I've got permeating out of my bones now. But yeah, he was opportunistic that night.
Great, man. I'm sorry to bring that up.
No, it's great. It's so funny because that's my best friend, and then the prom. Actually, no. Everybody wanted me to get mad at him. My good friend my good buddy who came down here to help me out with my renovation for the kitchen, he had his crush on this one girl forever, and then she ended up, she never reciprocated, and then she ended up making out with my best friend Hunter. So like that was his date. So he went on a date with our other best friend's crush. Okay, so Hunter's got he is going out on a date with one of his best friend's crushes. That's his date, and then he peels off of her and then ends up going after his best friend's date. That would be me. And then the next Monday at school, I'm mad at the girl because, guys, stick with guys sometimes, and everybody's mad at me. They're like, how come you're taking his side? And I'm like, he's my best friend. I'm like, I don't know. What do you want me to do? She should have said no to him. She should have known that would hurt my feelings. And then my buddy, who had the big crush on the other girl, he did like the whole cold shoulder, like I'm not talking to you for like a month thing, but he cracked after like a week or whatever. We all laugh about it now. High school,
man,
what a great time.
Those high school hijinks, man.
It's
good grief. Yeah. So much drama.
So much. All right, so yeah, that's a wrap for us. We will do a mailbag, and I guess we'll summarize what A.J. Duffy had to say on tomorrow's show, which will probably be the end of the week for us. Here on the program, unless something breaks, and we'll drop a Friday show for you folks too. But go to the Tribal Council. There is a thread for the Renegade Express. Post your questions, and we'll do an entire show based all around your topics. You control the narrative on Wake Up Warchant. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.